Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Al's brother in here, Michael DiStefano, a.k.a. Al's brother, a.k.a. my partsy. And we're going to have a pick in about a half an hour.
Yeah.
Luke Wilson's coming in here.
I got a strong lean toward one team.
You have a lean tonight. Okay,
yeah,
week
lean.
6 kicking off. Niners, Seahawks, short week in the division, home dog.
The lean is Niners.
Not
see.
saying. We'll
find out.
About
We'll
30
find
minutes.
out. Luke's coming up. His head will be in a pretzel because his Seahawks are not in a good place tonight, and it's a big win, big game for both teams. And the Leafs are in action in Jersey, and Dennis Hildeby will make his NHL debut tonight. So Hildeby is playing against the Devils tonight. So it's a big one for the Leafs. We got Pierre LeBrun coming up here in a moment. Big one in Ottawa tonight as well, where Linus Ullmark will make his debut as a Senator. They're at home against the Panthers tonight.
That's tough.
That's a tough
start.
But
Hey, why not get right into it?
Exactly. Great opportunity to say, bring them, and we're going to beat them, and we're going to let everyone know we're for real this year. That'd be a big win for Green buying a bench, big win for Ullmark in net, and a big win, I think, for TSN calling a game tonight, right? Where Noodles is off today because he's in Ottawa calling a game, but my understanding is he wants to join the conversation. I can only imagine.
I wonder what he has to say.
What he has on his mind and why he is forcing Doogie to put his cologne down and call him up and say, I got to have this guy on the line.
Noodles, why don't we get into the goaltending matchup? Sens Panthers tonight.
I don't give a damn about any type of hockey. What the hell is going on there? I'm driving out to the rink, and our agent, Pat Morris, calls me and says, O-Dog's jib just fell out on TV.
Yes.
And what are we? Are we dealing with Honey Boo Boo here? What's going on?
This guy's teeth, you know the ground in here, Noodles, too. It has not been cleaned in here since the probably early 2000s.
Exactly.
This guy's jibs hit the ground. He picked them up and popped them right back into his grill.
Dude, it's called staying in the game. I've broken my nose before and had the trainer rip my nose back into place, and then you go back out the next shift. That's how you battle through.
I love it.
Through
You're
it.
Doug Jarvis.
Just fell out again.
Did they just fall out again?
Through. What is going on? So are those the ones, the piano keys that you paid so much money for, and now they're falling out? What's going on there?
Noodles, the worst thing is, like, you know that I'm not a high-maintenance person. I'm old school. I had to ask Mike Lane, our senior hockey producer, if anyone down in Studio 6 could grab some Polydent. I've never used Polydent in my life, and I got to give it a rip tonight.
It's happening tonight.
I swear to God, all you need is a barbecue corn nut. Stick it in there with some gum, and it's the right color. It's everything. I don't know what is going on there. I'm just driving. I'm minding my own business. I'm trying to mentally prepare for a big game, and my phone is blowing up saying this guy's jib fell out on national TV.
Yep, it fell out tonight. And guess what? Bad news for you and the crew. You're staying in a Motel 6 tonight because we need Polydent money. we need a Polydent budget, and it's going to
Don't
you.
flush the toilet tonight. We need Polydent money.
Well, anyways, I'm happy the Hildebeest is playing tonight. It'll be good. I mean, the game last night, the Leafs deserved better, but Mondabon was unbelievable. We'll see if they bounce back tonight. I don't know, bounce back is the right word.
Right.
I thought they played well, but
They did.
you got to get the win. But the Hildebeest, we'll see what he's got to give. And you're right. I was watching Ullmark this morning, so we'll see how Ottawa responds. Not responds, but first game. I think there's some nerves involved.
For sure, there will be. Yeah, no, it'll be an electric night, though, with Ullmark there, Travis Green. It'll be a fun. And the champs are in town. I mean, the Panthers rolling through night one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. All right, let us know how many people ask you about O's teeth in the building
Yeah.
tonight. Because
honest to God, it's going to be a meme. Like, if it's not a meme on the internet, nobody's doing their job right now. There's got to be some sort of a meme.
Noodles.
It's happening.
Already a Twitter account. There's already a Twitter
Jeff
account.
O Teeth on
Hey,
X.
I could have been I could have just went home. Said sorry, I got no teeth.
You're
I can't
Doug
talk.
Jarvis, man.
You know what? You could have gone on the IR.
You could have.
now.
You could. You're more Keith Yandel than you are Joseph Woll. I appreciate
when the
that.
teeth hit the floor, I could have went, sensitivity. Like I can't. You know what? And I would have been in my car and gone.
That's right.
You could be on the IR for 2 weeks with a missing jib.
Yeah.
That's what it could be.
We'll do a running thing this year, the Masterton OverDrive Award. I'm leading right now with the teeth.
Big time. Big
Absolutely.
time. All right, buddy.
Yeah, all right. Have a good one, boys. We'll see you
Have a
tomorrow.
good call. We'll do it tomorrow. There he is, Jamie Noodles McLennan, with a rare call-in. We don't get too many calls on this show. Noodles driving to the rink. He's like, I have to call in. People are buzzing. This is history.
They are
And you're
buzzing.
right,
We might have to do that more often. Noodles on the way to the rink.
I like that idea.
Yeah, just a quick little hit and see what's up and check in.
I love that idea, and I think he painted a really good scene. A little bit of nerves out there in Ottawa. There should be. You know, it's a big season for them. They got to get buzzing, and I'm sure there's nerves for Dennis Hildeby. Like, he had a good camp, good preseason, but when they sent him down, there's no way he had on his bingo card, I'm playing game 2 of the season.
No.
Like, no chance when they said, you're on your way down to Coca-Cola Coliseum, and you're going to be a Marley, and good luck, and Matt Murray will be there, and he can mentor you.
He probably mentally thought, I'm doing that for the year.
Yes, exactly. And I got to have a great season, and hopefully next year I get to camp and I can be a part of that program. This kid's 23 years old. He's making his NHL debut tonight. Coming off a night last night where Stollards played very well. Montebo was great. Like, the goalies played outstanding last night. They played great. There was a lot of opportunities from both teams, a lot of buzz in that game. And there'll be buzz in Jersey tonight. It's opening night. Keith's first game at home. They're already 2-0. Like, this is a tough matchup for the Leafs right off the bat.
And we've all seen wacky goaltender stories where they come out of nowhere or it just all of a sudden happens and they arrive. I'm not saying this guy could win the Vezina this year. But if you go in there, the worst case scenario is you go in there and you have a performance where it's like, well, we got to send him down and get somebody else here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to plant that seed.
That speaks to the nerves that much more, is that he realizes it's a huge opportunity, but it's also it's a first impression. And who knows when Wall is going to be available? I assume he's back next week and everything's fine. That's what you hope on.
You don't want them to. You don't want the player to make the organizations think I was right for being scared to death to play him.
Yes.
You just want to say I'm here to stay.
Especially in front of Sheldon Keefe. Because last year, Keefe had an opportunity to play this kid, right? They went on that California road trip. They're in L.A. and then in Anaheim the next night, and he said, let's roll with Marty Jones and let Hildeby sit. He didn't get a sniff in the crease, and he got sent back down to the minors, hasn't played a game since. That guy's now on the other side, now sitting on that bench. You don't think that's motivation for Hildeby tonight?
Well, and Markstrom's going tonight. Like, Markstrom, who I'm sure he looks up to, is playing, on the other side, and
Swedish connection.
Exactly,
yeah, right.
Exactly. So, like, it's a big moment. It's a big opportunity for Hildeby, and you're right. You do not want to be leaving that building the way maybe Vancouver is leaving their building last night, saying I don't know if Shelovs can play yet. You know what I mean? And I know he went in the playoffs last year and he looked good, but sometimes it's easier to jump onto a moving train when you don't know any better. You're thrown into it, because it wasn't just like Demko went down and he went in. DeSmith went in and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Like, Shelovs, I think, went in mid-game at one point and then just kept playing. This is a full off season. He's probably known for weeks, if not months. Like, Demko probably isn't ready.
Dude, that Demko thing, I'm sorry. I love the guy, and Noodles talks so highly of him, as he should. I'm scared for, like, that's bizarre stuff.
Yes, it is.
Like, to have all summer and not be ready for training camp, that scares the hell out of me, man. Scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of like the Jack Eichel type vibes, Like, remember when it was like, what's
Buffalo,
up with this guy? What's up with this guy? And
no, it's worse than that. When I read a report that no one's ever heard of the injury, no hockey players had it.
Yeah,
that scares me, man.
That is scary. Here's Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Pierre, what do you make of Vancouver's positioning right now after they blew a 3-0 lead, 4-1 lead? Shelovs was giving up goals from everywhere last night, and no one knows when Demko is going to come back.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. When that was 4-1 after the first period, like, I thought that thing was so over.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just the score. They were tilting the ice so badly on Calgary, running after JT Miller to exacerbate things. And I was like, whoa, this one's going to be ugly. And what a comeback. Good on Calgary. But yeah, I mean, the Demko situation, I know people keep trying to find answers. I mean, I want to be careful here. I mean, I spoke with someone yesterday that still thought that a potential for a November 1st return was in the cards. But having said that, everyone that's involved will tell you that there's nothing firm there. There's so much uncertainty in terms of the uniqueness of the injury. So I don't want to say too much, but it's not great. He's their star goalie, and they need him back. He will be back. I mean, that's for sure. It's just a question of when. But, the other thing, and I'll give him a shout-out here, Thomas Drance wrote a really in-depth piece in The Athletic today. He's our Canucks columnist out there. Rick Tocchet is really trying to transform the way the Canucks play this year. They were really they're trying to change their style as far as creating more 5-on-5 offense. They ended up not being a very high-scoring team late last year, and it was interesting to read it because I think the point of it is, as ugly as last night was, I think there's going to be ups and downs in Vancouver's season as they try to figure out exactly where Tocchet wants this to go. I think obviously the risk in that is, how many ups and downs can you afford in a tight Western Conference race?
Yeah, they won the division last year. Why do they need
I know.
What are we doing here?
Because I think ODOG, part of it is, they obviously the shooting percentage. I mean, I think they had things go their way that they were cognizant of. And, and it's not so much correcting as much as the way I look at what the Canucks are trying to do is the evolution of their game, trying to bring this to the next level. And so I kind of give them credit in a way is that they're not buying into fool's gold and sitting there saying, well, this is what we did last year. The idea in this league is to find ways to try and continue to grow. And I think that's what the Canucks have done. I really like the Canucks offseason, the pieces they've added. But to go back to the start of this conversation, they need Thatcher Demko back and healthy, for sure.
Well, we got our own goalie situation going on here in Toronto, obviously, Pierre. No Joseph Wall, so Stolar stood on his head last night. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard.
Breaking news.
Not sure if you heard. Your boy Montembeault put on quite the performance last night. But looks like he did. He played excellent. But looks like Dennis Hildeby is going to get the start in goal tonight in Jersey. How do you feel about that?
By the way, I don't know why Montembeault is my boy, but if I get a cut of his salary, I'll go for it.
En français. Are we pronouncing it correctly?
You're putting all the French Canadians together. Okay,
yes.
I got you.
Montembeault, Dak Prescott.
Montembeault.
Samuel Montembeault.
Yeah.
That's why he's your boy, Pierre.
I love it.
Hildeby, I'm excited for him. I thought he was great in preseason, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he had a shot at playing last year?
Yes, he did. Keefe didn't play him.
Get the nod.
Yeah.
That's interesting, given where this game is being played tonight. I think this. This is going to sound ridiculous saying as though he started the year without Joseph Wall, but I love the least depth in goal. I really do. I think it's interesting. I think Hildeby has a chance to be the real deal over time. You don't want to rush him, but I think Stolarz was a solid pickup. It certainly wasn't on him last night. He was good. And, eventually Wall will figure this out. But I think this is actually a more steady group than it's actually been the last couple of years, believe it or not. That's how I feel.
Well, I would agree with you, but the question is, it's like, you know what they say about quarterbacks. If you don't have a number one, if you have multiple quarterbacks, you don't have a number one quarterback.
Right.
And that's the question here in Toronto. Like, you have depth, you have 3, maybe 4 guys. Even Matt Murray, they kind of believe in if and when he's healthy. But do you believe that it's important for the Leafs at some point this year to have one guy step up and be the man? Like, that's the guy.
It's got to be Wall, absolutely. I mean, this is his year. This is his moment. I mean, that's the guy that has the ceiling to be the franchise goalie. There's no question about it. And it's kind of mind-blowing and unlucky. I feel bad for him that this happened right on the eve of the season. But unfortunately for him, and I don't want to be unfair about this, but this is the early rep on him, in terms of staying healthy, right? So it's certainly not the early storyline that you want if you're him.
No kidding. That's it, man. He's got to break the mold. Like, he's got to prove
we were
who
saying,
he is.
Pierre, like, covering the game, like, just things don't change that much. Like, if a guy's often injured, how many times have you seen a guy young who's often injured all of a sudden turn into just a games played warrior? Doesn't happen. Things generally don't change. You are what you are.
Yeah, I still think it's so early, though. His body of work is so small, but deserve it or not, that's his rep right now.
Yeah, because it's happened 3 or 4 times, Pierre. That's why.
Yeah. He's got to own it.
And again, I feel like, you know how you say if you start the season 0-5, the spotlight's way greater than if it happens in December. I feel, too, that the timing of him not being ready for the season opener just magnifies it.
Yes.
Like, that was like a wow moment in many ways. Like, if this happens in December after he's had a really good start to the year and everyone's feeling good about things, you're like, okay, you know, it's his first time as a full-time guy and he's had a little hiccup here. I feel like because it happened before opening night, wow, that raised some eyebrows.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like they say that in baseball. If you start the year 0-30, it's way worse than going 0-40 halfway through the year, you know, because the numbers just scream out. Where are you? What are you doing? Were you prepared? All that kind of stuff. But, you know, the Leafs turn the page, and in terms of Sheldon Keefe and where his New Jersey Devils are, they're 2-0. They have their home opener tonight. He's got to be feeling pretty good about his team, doesn't he, Pierre? Like, are you buying into this Devils hype? Because I know FanDuel's got him as the third best odds to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Well, I'm terrible at predictions, but I did make my Cup predictions earlier this week, and I picked New Jersey Dallas Cup final with the Stars winning it. I had the Leafs and the Oilers in their respective conference finals. So that was my final 4. New Jersey Toronto, Sheldon Keefe against the Leafs.
What a story that would be.
And Dallas Edmonton. Yeah, I do buy into it. I buy into it because if you look under the hood of the Devils last year, literally they were, aside from their litany of injuries, they couldn't get a save. They're a way better team than what happened last year. And I would be stunned if they weren't the biggest jump in points in the Eastern Conference this year. I think Jacob Markstrom, of all the off-season moves, if you could name a better fit of a guy changing teams, go ahead. I don't know who it would be other than him. I mean, that's just exactly what they needed. Yep. They're loaded with talent. They need a healthy Jack Hughes, obviously, but I think the Devils will give the Rangers all they can handle in the Metro. And I do think they're the real deal. I will say, you know, speaking of Sheldon Keefe and how much tonight's game I'm sure matters to him, you know, I hope people realize how that was not a slam dunk. Like, I think Sheldon Keefe, when I remember the days after his firing from the Leafs, I think there was a lot of thought given to taking this year off and to just resetting himself, but like a lot of coaches do, by the way, given the emotion and everything. And Tom Fitzgerald was like a dog on a bone, like respectfully, but Tom Fitzgerald would not, like, must have called or texted Sheldon Keefe every day after he got fired and just said, hey, if you're ever ready to talk, and stayed on it. And honestly...
Did they already have the goalie at that time, Pierre?
No. They traded for Markstrom. Well, I'd have to go back, actually. At the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because that would be interesting, because if they already had the goalie, I would have texted them back immediately, because you know better than anyone. There's only so many opportunities that pop up. You got to jump on it, man.
Yeah, that's that. Like getting Markstrom.
You sit and rot. You could sit and rot for 5 years.
Big time.
Maybe longer.
Yep. He's a young guy. He had to get back in the game quick, and he did. And he picked a good spot. Really good spot.
I think he made the right call. And you get where maybe he simply needed a few days, I guess. But, yeah, he did pick a great spot. And this is not, you know, to pick on the media corps there covering the Devils. It's nothing like here. And so, you know, Sheldon, who I think at times, you know, got himself, you know, his own fault, said things, I think, when he was hot after a loss in front of the big Toronto media corps that he regretted. And, you know, he'll be able to manage that part of his day-to-day life a lot better on that beat. And that's not nothing, by the way. That's something that coaches talk about all the time amongst each other.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, Dubas, the same thing in Pittsburgh. Like, both young guys, they were both
Pittsburgh team, boy.
They're in trouble,
tough.
Hey, one game.
They haven't made the playoffs in the last 2 years. I don't think they're better now than they were 2 years ago.
It didn't look good last night.
No.
There's concern there, wouldn't there be, Pierre?
There has to be.
I mean, Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang is where my concern started last night. Oh, my goodness. And I love those guys, just so we're clear, but that looked difficult. I mean, Gilson Karlsson's barely been on the ice, I think, during camp and preseason, so we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But listen, I think Hayes and I have been on the same Pittsburgh wavelength the last year and a half. And that's why, I love that Sidney Crosby re-signed. I mean, he's such a loyal guy, gave them a break again financially. And I'd love to see him finish his career there. I truly would. But there's a reason, I think, why that extension was not an overnight signing. There were a lot of conversations between agent, player, team, ownership about
what?
The future, about where this was headed. And
okay, but what if it's not heading there? Like, did he say to them, look, if we stink, I'm out of here?
He said that. I'm pretty sure his agent probably would have to cover off all the bases. And if you look at the way that 2-year extension was structured, it's front-loaded. There's definitely an easy trade to be done in that second year. Now, again, if Sid was on the air with us right now, he'd say, Pierre, shut the heck up. What are you doing? But I'm just telling you that if this thing goes off the rails, that the way that extension is structured, there's no question in my mind that, that's a guy that's easy to trade in terms of finding a fit somewhere else. Again, he would say that's not happening. But I'm just saying to you, and it's only one game. Penguins have a chance to salvage their season over 81 games. But if this continues to go like we saw in the last year and a half, let's be real, it's a possibility.
Yes, a distinct possibility. And he had to know that, though. This is what frustrates me is what did Sid possibly think was going to happen this year? I know it's one game, but what did they do in the offseason that would make Sidney Crosby say, now we're a cup competitive team?
Dude, that's my question,
Nothing.
too. Like, what kind of meeting or anything, and anyone came out of it saying, don't worry, this year things are going to change. My ass.
Yeah, nothing. So
everyone's a year older, and the goalie's not good enough.
But you guys have been around these special players, right? Honestly, Joe Thornton, when the Sharks when I think the rest of us could start seeing the decline of the Sharks after 15 consecutive years of knocking out the door, I think he might have been the last one to see it. And that's because they're so in the fight and their loyalty and their belief that they can't allow themselves to be one of the first guys to see that. That's how they're wired. It's their DNA. So I think, that's why players should never be GMs while they're still players. I mean, that's why GMs GM and coaches coach and players play, because, it may be that Sid doesn't see it the same way as us. It's probably true, but, and again, I'll be happy, along with you, Brian, to eat our words in a month if they're off to a spectacular start. But I'm just saying, I felt the same way about where this was headed now for a bit.
Yep. Get him out. Took me one game. I'm back on that train. Get him out. Has to happen. All right, Pierre. Good chat, buddy. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Right on. See you, boys.
There he is, Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander, in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com.
How much say did Sid have in retaining Malkin and Letang? Quite a bit,
lot.
I remember, right?
Yes.
He kind of has to feel the heat for that, because you look at the decisions that were made. They decided to keep those guys getting older. Meanwhile, they let a guy like Jake Gensel walk. How do you expect to continue to retool things and stay competitive if that's the direction you're going to go in?
Yeah, the answer is you're not going to. And
does he feel indebted to the organization for that?
Listen, I appreciate his loyalty. He wants to be in Pittsburgh. He wants to stay in Pittsburgh. He wants to believe it's going to work. And like Pierre said, I think he's onto something. You're biased there, and you look at your guys who you've won so much with, and you're like, Malkin's going to help me do this, and Letang will help me do this, and
not anymore,
Carlson, but not anymore. They missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year, and Sid's now committed for 3 years, and I don't know. I don't see how it's going to work out. All right, the Hyundai Hockey Hall of Fame Legends Classic returns on November 10th, and you can enter online at tsn1050.ca for your chance to be there as honorary coach for some of hockey's greatest legends. The grand prize includes introduction as an honorary coach, dressing room access, serving behind both the Team Hefford and Team Lindros benches, 4 tickets for your family and friends to come watch you coach. What a cool giveaway that is. tsn1050.ca to sign up and enter, and best of luck. All right. Well, you're off to do panel work. I will be watching intently tonight. Any update on the Polydent or the...
I got a text, a picture sent to me from like a senior person here of Polygrip.
Polygrip. That's legit.
And he's like, I hope this works.
Yeah.
That's how it's embarrassing. But you got to do it.
You got to do it, man. You're up for the master.
This business, sometimes behind the scenes, you just got to scrape it together and go do it. Polygrip, mix in a little charm, a little analysis, and you're good to go.
Everything will be fine tonight. I'm not concerned at all. Polygrip has a great reputation for getting the job done.
I've heard the same.
I don't know how to I don't know how you're going to apply it. Do you need help doing that? Does someone have to get in there and...
Dude, I'm just taking my teeth out, dumping it in the little holes, and then
jamming her up there.
I love it.
You'll get through.
What a game it's going to be tonight. It's going to be a good game, too. Leafs Devils, you got Hildeby starting. There's a lot going on here with this Leaf game.
So many
Sheldon
storylines.
Keefe, everything, and now you throw in the Polygrip. It has the chance to be historic on TSN tonight.
It's going to be a good one.
Best of luck. Godspeed. There he is, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill. Luke Willson coming in. Hayes and Bro on the clock. So Luke will represent Team Owen Wilson in his counter-analysis on why we're picking who we're about to pick. Teeing up Week 6 with Luke. He will join us in studio next.
If you smell what the Wilson is cooking.
All right, what a pendulum swing. What a vibe in here, Al's brother. You and I, we're feeling great. The masses are supporting us. Luke's in here, and you're all alone because your boy, you see what happened to him?
He lost his teeth.
His teeth fell out. Carlo Koliakovo, what a team player. He went and picked up, Polygrip or something. And O's teeth, it's real trouble, man.
Well, literally, Carlo walks in, hands him it, and he went to thank him. And as you said, thank you, and the tongue touched up on the teeth, spit them out again. I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
How he's going to be, the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight?
He's going to be shook tonight on that panel. I can't wait. It's going to be great TV. What's the teeth ratio for football players?
Not even close. Most of us have all of our teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the face mask, but that's predominantly a hockey thing, I think.
Yeah, it generally is. I mean, other sports, I think most people have their own teeth, but football, I've seen some teeth fly in the air if a guy gets hit hard enough. If he gets crushed. Oh,
really?
Yeah. I think probably back in the day.
That might
I don't
be
think
old school.
Dick Budkiss doesn't have teeth. He didn't have teeth. I don't think. I mean,
before the leather helmets you're talking about.
Well, back then, definitely guys.
Yeah,
teeth.
I could see that.
But I swear I've seen video of some guy getting hit so hard that his teeth pop out. You have to get crushed.
You got to get smoked.
Yeah, and you'd have to have wobbly teeth to begin with, I guess.
What's the hardest hit you took in the NFL, Luke?
Oh, that's easy. NFC Championship. They could probably pull this up pretty quickly. NFC Championship 2013 season would have been January of 2024. Fun story, but it was an option route, and it was either an over or you cut it up versus middle of field open. And all week they were like, hey, Luke, don't drift. Do not drift. Head right up the hash. This could be a touchdown. So it was against the Niners. I'm running. It's wide open. I put my foot in the ground, and I'm like, I might have a TD here. And I swear to you, I was not drifting. Russ threw me over there. That's my claim to fame. Anyways, I'm thinking if Russ is throwing the ball over here, I got to be good. The ball hit my hands, and I was hit at the ankle almost simultaneously by Eric Reed, and Dante Whitner smoked me. I spun around, and my head hit the ground. It looked like a trampoline. Didn't hold on to the ball, and obviously NFC Championship. I was embarrassed, so I rolled around, waited for the crowd to yell, meaning we got the 15 yards, and then I popped up, walked off the field, and it was weird because I had a mouth guard in, but I had bit down so hard that my tongue was actually bleeding, from the back. But that was by far. The good news was we got 15 yards. I mean, I would have loved the 15 yards in to hang on
and
to
a
it.
catch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was, again, in the slow-mo, it looks kind of bad, and then you see, like, the head off the turf is a bit disturbing.
So was it like a warranted flag? Like, undoubtedly he got you high? Like,
Whitner could bang back in the day. Like,
What was tough, too, was then later on, he was in Cleveland kind of in his career, and we were playing Cleveland, and he comes out to me in the game, and he's like, don't make me do that again. And of course, I'm like, so I said, I had to tell him, like, bro, you play for Cleveland now. He's like, what's that mean? I go, where careers go to die, boss. Enjoy your last year in the NFL.
Cleveland. Still talking smack.
But then what was also tough was a few years later when I was in Detroit, I was like, man, I kind of felt like, that time, not now, Detroit and Cleveland were, simultaneous for that. So I was like, man, remember what I said to Whitner? Things have really turned quickly here.
You're in Detroit.
Yeah.
You can't say anything at this point.
It was, but again, it was at least a 15-yard penalty.
Okay.
So that was a little bit of a
helpful.
lining. Yeah.
This was helpful.
So did you feel like Russ led you astray there?
I was a little annoyed, to be honest. We never had that chat, but I was, again, all week, we had ran it in practice. So it was the same play we had ran, I think it was week 14 at Candlestick, and it was my first ever NFL touchdown, and I misread it and ran the over, and Eric Reed was flip, basically bit so hard on the run action that I thought it was middle field open. Close. I'm a stupid rookie. Ran the over. It wasn't, but Eric Reed was nowhere to be found. So I caught it and scampered for like a 39-yard TD. So they're like, Luke, we haven't actually shown this where you go up the field. You're going to score again against the same Niners defense. And then we had practiced it, and I kept drifting in practice. You can kind of see what I'm saying. And they're like, dude, if you drift, you will be killed. And I vividly remember sitting there being like, don't drift. Don't drift. And he threw me over there. So I thought, wow, it must be wide open. Again, I don't know if the boys can find this. It's on YouTube for sure.
Gotta find it.
Yeah, I got absolutely tattooed. And I remember kind of thinking like, hey, would Russ maybe come over and be like, hey, sorry, I kind of led you into that one? Not a word.
Well, see, that's the big Tom Brady stuff now, right? Like Brady talks about how like it was his responsibility to make sure he protected his receivers.
Yes.
Because guys like Whitner and others would just kill you.
Ed Reed.
Exactly. I mean, and Ed Reed didn't even hit like viciously to the point like a Rodney Harrison or something like those guys. If they could get you, Bob Sanders would destroy you if he could get
rip your face off.
Yes.
Like Cam would do that for us too. He was kind of the last.
Cam Chancellor.
He was the last of that breed.
Yeah.
The thing about Cam though that was impressive was he could also cover. Like a lot of people would see him and he's still 6'2", 6'3", real stout, lean dude. But Cam would straight up cover some of the best tight ends in the NFL, and that was kind of what I respected Cam for. Was he wasn't just an enforcer; he was pretty skilled as well.
So as for the game tonight. It's a big game for both teams. Like the Seahawks have looked bad 2 weeks in a row. The Niners have blown leads twice in the last 3 weeks in historic fashion. Fourth quarter, like big leads.
Yeah.
They lose to Arizona at home last week. So I don't think like the desperation angle here applies to both sides. Like part of me looks at Seattle and they're like, you can't lose 3 in a row in the NFL. You got to get this tonight. But there's no way they're more desperate than the Niners.
Yeah.
The Niners lose tonight, they're 2-4. Like, both teams have to get this game tonight.
Yes. And
I think it's a great setup for a great ball game tonight.
Agreed. And Thursday night in Seattle, obviously the line says, like, San Fran is the favorite. Seattle's always been, I know Pete Carroll's gone, but they've always been a very good primetime team. Mm-hmm. And Pete Carroll's fingerprints are still on this roster where it's like, hey, Thursday, show up, ball out, here we go. So that's always plays into it, and I always find that just weird things go down in that stadium. With these two teams, I think of some of the games where we were talking about it off air, but there was an era after Harbaugh where we smoked them and they were not very good. But then the next era, there were games where, I thought we won one at Levi in overtime where we had no business winning, but Jadeveon Clowney showed up and decided to play the game of his life. We lost one. I think it was 2020 or maybe 2021. Don't quote me on that. 2020 it would have been because we lost the division. It was the last game of the year at home, and that was a game Hollister got tackled on the half-yard line We were down by 5. I don't know if you remember that play. So it's always been like, I thought we actually deserved to maybe win that one. We probably shouldn't have won a couple years earlier in Levi. Like, there's always a bunch of weird things that go down in these
Great
games.
rivalry, these two teams.
Yeah.
And
the fans hate each other.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think the hatred is more Seattle fans hate the Niners.
Right. Like, that's the main rival.
Oh, my. I was not a huge, sports psych guy. But the first time I ever went to a sports psych was my rookie year, that NFC Championship game where I got absolutely smoked. I remember thinking, if you meant, and this was not you're a rookie, not a great mentality, but I'm like, if you mess something up in this game, this city will burn your house down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the year we obviously ended up winning it. To us, that was a Super Bowl, and you're playing the Niners. Like, you could just feel all week the hatred throughout the entire city of Seattle. Good. And when we won that game, I had some of my boys from LaSalle, and I probably left an hour and a half afterwards, maybe even 2. And I pull out of the stadium, and there were people hanging out of trees, hanging out of windows. It was absolute
bedlam.
It was awesome. It was a cool moment. I'll never forget that.
That's so great. Man.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and that speaks to what's on the line, I guess, tonight. And you mentioned it. That stadium, it'll be rocking tonight. I haven't seen the weather report. What we're
should
expecting.
be clear. Should be a clear night. Should be a clear night.
The strange one for me is I don't think the Seattle team is super tough at the moment. You look at their wins.
Got a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Got a lot of injuries.
On defense,
specifically.
like their linebackers.
And the defense has looked bad. What's been disappointing is the offense outside of the Detroit game has also looked bad compared to the weapons. Now, Kenneth Walker being hurt. But I sit here and I'm like, you know what? As bad as they've looked, if they somehow find a way to win this, which I'm not saying they're gonna. I know you guys are on the clock. You got to think they're in the driver's seat for the division.
Well, for sure.
Yes.
Even though they're not a great team.
No, that's what's on the line here.
You're up 2 games, and you've already got a win over the Niners.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's like the Rams have been decimated with injury and don't look good. I'm not saying that it's whenever the Seahawks play this year, as we saw last week, there's no guaranteed wins for them.
Yes.
The Cardinals have their issues, but all of a sudden you're like, man, Seattle's sitting at 4-2. The Niners are 2-4, and you've got to win against them. So it's crazy to me to think that this team, again, huge if, but if they pull it off tonight, they're at home, it's prime time. Again, I don't favor them, but crazier things have happened in Seattle. Is that fair?
That's fair, and I also think we're deep enough into the season where you look at, past reputation may not apply anymore.
Yes.
And I'll give you that on both sides. Like, the Niners, they got to prove, you can get back to where you were before kickoff opening night. You've played enough ball games where you've disappointed people. Yeah. And, the flip side of that, I would say, is Washington. I've seen enough where I'm actually, they're good. I'm not thinking of them as if it's August 30th anymore, and they're, maybe they win 7 games, and, hey, Daniels looks good, and next year they take a turn. We're deep enough in now where whatever your rep was or whatever the odds were at the end of August, they don't apply anymore.
Agreed. To me, the Commanders are the best team in that division.
They look outstanding.
Close friend of mine is on that team, and I shot him a note the other day. I'm like, yo, is this all hype or is Jaden Daniels that good? And he responded with, dude, he's that good.
Yeah.
Even in practice.
Well, they got Baltimore.
Which will be a great
test. Big test.
But, even if they don't win, if they play Baltimore tough, which I'm expecting they will, you got to sit here and say, this is a legitimate NFC contender.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not putting them up there with the Lions. I think the Lions right now, because of the way the Niners have played, are the clear-cut favorite for me. But then after that, Philly, San Fran, how are they not in that conversation?
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota would put
Minnesota.
Their head up
Yes,
still.
Minnesota. Yes.
And I like where the Packers are and where they're going. I think by the end of the year, they're going to be in a better place. But,
for sure. But they're in the
they're in that talk.
Packers in the mix.
Correct.
100%. 100%. All right, we'll get to our pick momentarily. We haven't had you on since the Jets, Robert Saleh.
Okay.
Craziness. What do you make of, because they get the Bills at home on Monday night.
Something is strange here. And I'm going to start top to bottom. First off, and you feel free to push back on this, but this is where I'm coming from. In the NFL, you've got offensive and defensive coaches. And what I mean by that is, you look at Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll was a defensive guy. Not many people know that, but defensive background, defensive coordinator. So when we would come after practice, if the defense had a great day, Pete would be like, hey, this is a good practice. And offensively, no, it wasn't. when I was in camp with John Gruden, he's an offensive guy. We would get stoned, shut out in practice, and Gruden would be irate afterwards. And it's a weird, dynamic when the head coach, because the defense just played lights out, and he's mad saying we practice like garbage. And I look at Robert Saleh. First off, he was our defensive quality control guy in Seattle my rookie year.
Right.
Then he goes to San Fran. He ends up becoming their defensive coordinator. We talked about when they got good.
Great defense.
When Robert Saleh started calling plays. He was incredible over there. They knock on the door, don't get it done. This guy is a defensive coach. And now he goes out there. Let's look at the last 3 games. They give up 3 points to the Patriots, which the Patriots are trash, but 3 points against anyone in the NFL, great. They give up 10 points to the Broncos, lose that game. Can't pin that on the defense.
Yep.
Can't do it.
No.
You go play the Vikings, and correct me if my math is wrong here. This final score is 23. We got jammed on this game.
Pick 6.
Mm-hmm. So then you give up 16 points to the Vikings that have Addison. Aaron Jones did get hurt in the first half.
Yeah.
Jefferson. I'm sitting here and I'm going, so you gave up 16 to the 5-0 Vikings, 10 to the Broncos, 3 to the Patriots. What more do you want from this defense? And we go out and fire a defensive head coach and promote an intern defensive coach.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What are we going to get from this?
This exact same issues that were there beforehand. The offensive line is a mess. Rodgers doesn't look comfortable. Breece Hall can't run for anything. I think it's a disaster waiting to happen, man. I never thought the Jets would make the playoffs. I feel more bullish on that than I ever have.
The only thing, the saving grace is
bad division.
Bad division.
Yes, bad division.
Very bad.
Bad AFC too. We were talking about that earlier. You take a look, there's not a lot of teams that you say, oh, they're for sure going to make the playoffs.
No.
Somehow, some way,
Kansas City is
one. Well, the Cincinnati Bengals are 1-4. They might have a shot to still make the playoffs.
Yes.
It would be tough. They're going to have to go on a good run.
But they're a good enough team.
Nine wins is going to get you a wild card.
I think that, but even that, I mean, what are they, 1-4?
Yeah, they got to run off 8 wins in the next.
So you've got to go 8-4? My math right on that? Yeah.
Something like that.
They got to go 8-4.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like they can do it. What I worry about Cincinnati is defensively, they're not good.
No, I was just using them as an example.
No, but
outside
I agree.
of, I would say Buffalo. I believe Buffalo is a for sure playoff team.
I don't
the Ravens
for sure playoff team.
For sure a playoff team. Look at that division. They're going to win the division no matter what.
I don't know.
They're going to make the playoffs.
They lose Monday night. They're not necessarily going to win the division.
I think they'll win that game Monday night. But either way, you got the Ravens, you got the Chiefs, and then I'll put Buffalo in there.
And Houston.
3 teams.
Houston's getting in.
I think Houston's the most overrated team in the NFL.
They haven't played well.
They're getting in, man.
They're getting in.
They're 4-1.
But then that means there's 3 spots for any other team, and no one screams to me like, is it going to be Denver?
Chargers. I think the Chargers could. I think the Steelers still could.
Yeah.
I hear you, though. It's not
I don't like
great.
the Steelers a lot either.
All right, let's get to the pick here. Niners laying 3.5 in Seattle. Al's brother, tremendous information, please.
It's not an interesting one. It's an
the
absolute...
0.5. The 0.5 would have jammed me.
It's a lock. It's a lock that we're going with the Niners. It has to be the Niners. I mean, you look at Seattle's defense. They've been brutal. I believe it was you.
I like the Niners tonight. We're seeing the board clearly.
100%. The Niners have won 5 straight games. They've covered this number in each and every one of them. They've won by a touchdown in 5 straight games against Seattle. I think they're going to be ready to go tonight. I mean, Seattle's got a bunch of injuries on that defense. I think it was you, literally on Monday, that said that Seattle secondary, that the defense made Daniel Jones look like Elway.
They did.
Yes. Brock Purdy cooks tonight.
Brock Purdy looked like Tom Brady.
Brock Purdy does cook, but
Geno does too.
Geno cooks.
No, he doesn't.
You're an injury guy. Who's injured on the Niners defense right now?
Hufanga?
Everybody.
No, but only Hufanga I think is missing. Everyone else is going to play tonight.
I think Thursday night
Warner's playing.
We have another shootout, sort of like the Lions game.
Possibly, but I like
DK's going to go nuts.
Touchdown.
Niners by at least 6 tonight.
By at least 6.
Picks in, lock it in.
Here's where I'm going to call
Purdy
here.
cooks.
The group chat's going to blow up. You guys, the Niners will be up 10. The Seahawks are gonna fight this thing off, and they'll probably get one with 20 seconds. And as you guys like to say, the pendulum will swing, and we will sweep the weekend, and everything will be back to normal.
You know what annoys me? Their kicker is out, Jake Moody. If they miss a field goal at some point in this game and that screws us, I'll be so
Okay, we got to go here. Good luck tonight, buddy. We'll catch you on the group chat. This is Luke Willson. Carlo Koliakovo coming up. Back into the Leaf game tonight as well. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Al's brother's in here, and he's been stationed somewhere in the city, right? Because we're sending Al's brother out somewhere in the city with a pair of Leaf tickets all season. Every week we're going to do this, and you have to guess where he's hiding for your chance to win them. Al's brother, you're here with the final clue.
Yes, I had to come out of hiding to deliver the final clue in person today on the show. And here is the final clue before I cruise off to a new location for next week. This arena is named after a Canada Sports Hall of Fame athlete who was known as the Moaner.
The Moaner. I love it.
You know exactly
what I'm talking about.
I mean.
All right, I love it. There's your final clue. When you hear the cue to call tomorrow, not the clue, the cue to call tomorrow, first caller through the correct location wins a pair of tickets to the home opener Saturday night, Leafs Penguins Saturday night. What a giveaway. Full details at tsn1050.ca. Final hour coming up. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.